Hey everyone, I wanted to take a second to talk about the Protection Warrior. I've been goofing off on the PTR and mostly been playing with Fury because it's beautiful, but I'm a tank at heart and I know I'm going to eventually be tanking. Heard some bad things about the Protection Warrior too, like it's a under gear DPS and it just doesn't feel like you're tanking. And having goofed around with it on the PTR, I mean, we all know that's not final, but I mean, we're still beta testing, so why would you ever think anything's final? I wanted to take a second and look at one of the abilities, a major change for the Protection Warrior was the loss of shield barrier. Anyone who's still playing live instead of playing in the PTR, which honestly I don't know why you are, has nothing to do. Excuse me. Is shield barrier was just this massive absorption. I mean, you could just get huge amounts of damage absorption and never take damage. It was wonderful, if not a little broken. But they got rid of that in favor of Ignore Pain, which again fills the class fantasy of a Protection Warrior just fighting through the pain, which is actually on the tooltip too if you've seen it. Fighting through the pain. And I think that's great. I think it's cool. I think it's cool sounding. Does it work? Yes. Yes, it does. It really does work. It took me a little bit to play with it to kind of understand it, so hopefully I can help you maybe understand it the way I do, and if you're having trouble with it, you know me, if you know how all my videos are, I'm not pro game rating, perfect, everything has to be done this way. It's more just like if you looked at it with kind of a huh, then maybe this will help you. So for starters, Ignore Pain. It has a 40 rage base cost, and I say base cost because you can augment that later. And again, it's fighting through the pain to ignore 90% of the next X amount of damage, which again, that gets augmented as well, from any source, so that's magic or physical. Which this means that you basically will absorb 90% of the damage you take up to that amount. For example, if you had an absorption from Ignore Pain of 150,000 and you got hit in the face for 160,000, you would take 10% of the 150,000 damage, meaning 15,000, plus the remainder of that 160,000 that wasn't absorbed, so 10,000. Out of 160,000 possible points of damage, you only take 25,000. So, looking at that, how can we augment our Ignore Pain? How do we make it better? How do we make it stronger? Well, there's a few talents you can choose in the talent tree that are amazing for this. The first one is just a flat increase, is Indomitable. It's a 25% increase to health and 25% increase to the effects of Ignore Pain. Great! And while there's nothing wrong with just a flat increase, maybe you want something with a little more play behind it. Well, that's where you have the talent Vengeance. Now, what Vengeance does is pretty cool, actually. What Vengeance does is your Focus Rage reduces the rage cost of Ignore Pain by 50%. It also lets your Ignore Pain reduce the cost of your next Focus Rage by 50%. So they play well on each other to constantly keep the rage cost low. Now, another thing that synergizes really well with this setup is Ultimatum. Now, what Ultimatum does, it's a little bit different than what it used to do. What it does now is your Shield Slam has a chance to proc a free Focus Rage. Why is that important? Well, if you use your free Focus Rage, your next Ignore Pain is now 50% cheaper. So now we have a pretty synergized way of tanking. We're getting procs that give us randomness to increase our tanking, and we have pretty sustainable increases to our tanking as well. You have some decisions to make. Do you want to use Focus Rage and not Ignore Pain to get your next Ignore Pain reduced in cost, or do you want to save up for your Ignore Pain and not waste the Rage because you're so close to the 40 Rage that you need to use Ignore Pain anyway? Me personally, I like to try to use Ignore Pain at the 40 Rage, then use my free Focus Rage to reduce it to 20, so I get a little extra bump. Now, the importance for me using that strategy is that your Ignore Pain kind of stacks. And what I mean by that is, if you have a certain amount left of your Ignore Pain, of its 90% absorption, and you use it again, whatever your baseline is gets added to that. So now you can take 90% absorption of X amount of damage, but that threshold gets bigger, so it lasts longer. I've had it to where my Ignore Pain actually ran out. It didn't. The absorption didn't go away. It just ran out of time. So the absorption kept getting higher and higher and higher because I was mixing in my other damage reduction abilities such as Shield Block and Shield Wall and Last Stand, which actually is some damage reduction, just gives you more health, but you guys know that already. But things that reduce the damage you take makes Ignore Pain last even longer, so you can keep building it up and stacking it and stacking it, and it actually gets pretty powerful after a good little while. Now, you can't always do that. If you're getting hit really hard or a lot of things are hitting you, your Ignore Pain is going to get whittled through pretty quickly. But you're just going to keep building it, and as you have Ignore Pain going, then you can get your other abilities going. So I personally like to have Ignore Pain going before I use Shield Block. And then I keep balancing out the two, okay? Ignore Pain is going to reduce my damage so I can get that Shield Block. Now, while Shield Block is up, I can get another Ignore Pain and it'll last a little bit longer. Oh, I can use Shield Block again. You know, it's balancing out. You're still making those choices. Now, it doesn't feel like these choices are as difficult as they used to be. You know, it doesn't feel as life or death, but it's still choices you get to make. And to me, tanking is all about making choices. What do I do? When do I do it? And what benefit do I get from doing this thing that I did? Putting out more damage, absorbing more damage, protecting people, reducing the damage I'm taking, reducing the damage the enemies are doing. This is all still choices you have to make as a tank. It's been those choices from day one. But I think Ignore Pain was kind of looked at, frowned upon, and unrightly so. It does seem to be a pretty good ability that synergizes well. It has pretty good class fantasy, and overall I think it meets what Blizz was trying to do. They wanted to have something not as powerful as a full damage reduction or full damage absorption, but at the same time give the warriors something special. It's special to them. Fighting through the pain, absorbing 90% of the next blah 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 damage. That's pretty cool, and it sounds cool. But that's enough gushing for me. I wanted to just talk about Ignore Pain and kind of what it can do and where you can go with it, but really the only way you're going to get a feel for it is to do it. So, if you like something I said, or you either doubt me, which is fine, I sometimes doubt myself when I do this, or you want to try it, you want to play with it, figure it out on your own, go for it. Download the PTR. Everyone can get in. Blizz said, hey, here it is the pre-patch. Go have fun. Not as much to do as like in a beta test. It's just testing out the classes, and they're playing around with it. I'm not going to spoil anything of what you can and can't do. That was the excitement for me, at least. But get in there and test it out, and try to do it your way. How would you do it if you were a warrior tank? This is how I plan on doing it. If there's not too much changes between this PTR and when this goes live, and then when Legion goes live, if there's not a lot of changes, pretty sure this is how my tanking is going to feel. It's is it the best? Maybe not. I never claim to be the best. My job is to help you get just a basic understanding so you can go in there and go, oh, that's what it does. Now I don't feel like I'm going in blind. Am I going to be the best tank in Legion? No, there are way more better tanks than me. But I like to have fun, and I hope you do too. So get out there, tank it up, have a good time, and if you find something that it works better, please let me know. And then if it's such a huge increase, then I'll make sure to address it. If you guys have seen, I've done that in the past. I've made those corrections. If I'm wrong, and I will fix it. But anyway, y'all have fun tanking. Enjoy your PTR time, and then if you're watching this and you're in the beta, well, I'm not in the beta, so I hate you. Just kidding.